Hey everyone, happy Thursday. I hope your week has been going well. This week's live is a day early because tomorrow I will be in an immigration lawyer conference all day, learning how to be a better immigration lawyer for you guys, an even better immigration lawyer, I should say. Where I am today in Boston, it's super windy. I don't know what is going on. It's like every time I want to do a live, the wind is just really, loud and windy no matter where I am, no matter what room I'm in. So please bear with me today. For those of you that are new to the party, my name is Attorney Bianca Jordan. I'm an immigration attorney in Boston. I practice immigration law throughout the United States, and I help immigrants all over the world to come and work and live in the United States. If you have any questions about anything in this video, or if you'd like some help with your immigration case, you can call my office at 508-942-7497. So today's video, again, is on the public charge rule. The latest implementation of the public charge rule went into effect on February 24th, so this past Monday. And so I've had a lot of calls and messages from people that are still kind of confused about the public charge rule, not really sure how it impacts them and their family members that they want to bring over. So I wanted to do a video on how do you pass the public charge rule. So not just what evidence you need for your application to get a green card or a visa, but how do you actually pass to go and collect your green card? So that's what I'm going to focus on in this video. And so if anybody is joining me live, feel free to say hey. I have clients all over the world, so I'm always curious to see where my viewers are coming from. So if you don't mind, if you're catching this live, I'd love to know where you're currently watching my video from. So to recap what the public charge rule is. So the public charge rule is a ground of inadmissibility, which means it's a reason why the government can deny you a green card or a visa. So there are a variety of reasons why the government can deny you a green card or a visa. Criminal history, so if you've committed certain crimes like drug trafficking, for example, human trafficking, if you have certain diseases, if you're a public charge, if you've been deported. So there are a variety of reasons why the government can deny you admission into the United States. So public charge is one of them. And with the public charge exception to inadmissibility, what the government is looking at is they want to see if you are likely to become a public charge at some point in the future. So that means that they're looking to see if you are likely to need public benefits such as food stamps in the future. So that's what the public charge rule is testing. And it applies to people that are applying for non-immigrant visas. So if you're applying for a tourist visa or a fiancé visa, then this will apply to you. If you're applying for a green card, also if you are applying to extend or change your status, the public charge rule will apply to you. So next I want to cover who is not impacted by this rule. U.S. citizens are not impacted by this rule. Neither are green card holders unless they leave the United States for more than 6 months. People that are applying for green cards through the Violence Against Women Act for victims and survivors of domestic violence, people with special immigrant juvenile status, people that have asylum or people that are refugees, people that have a T or U visa, certain people that are trying to get a green card through the Cuban Adjustment Act or the Haitian Immigration Fairness, also people that are applying for Liberian Refugee Immigration Fairness, can't remember if I said that already, and also people with TPS. And I want to clarify a point about people with TPS, because in a previous video I said that people with TPS are not subject to the public charge rule. And yes and no. So if you're applying for TPS or you already have TPS and you're applying to renew it, the public charge rule doesn't apply to you. But if you're applying for a green card, it does. So again, I want to go through what the public charge test is and how you can pass each section of the test. And again, as always, all of my videos are just for educational and informational purposes only. It's not legal advice. I'm not your lawyer. I'm just a lawyer. But if you did want specific legal advice specific to your situation, you can always give my office a call. So the first test is the age test. And what the government is looking for is they want to see that you are in a good age. So they consider a good age to be between the ages of 18 and 61. And that's because they think that you can be gainfully employed. They think that you're of age where you can go to school, go to college, learn, get a degree so that you can eventually get a job and be gainfully employed so that hopefully you don't end up on public benefits. So if you're outside of those ages, so if you're under 18 or if you're older than 61, the government is thinking that, this is a negative, you're likely to become a public charge. If you're under 18, the government is thinking that you're still in high school, you haven't graduated yet, you don't really know anything, you can't really go out there and fend for yourself. So the government is thinking that you're likely to become a public charge. Similarly, if you're older than 61, they're thinking that you're near retirement, or if you're not near retirement, that it's going to be difficult for you to get a job. Unfortunately, in the United States, we do deal with ageism, so it tends to be harder for you to get a job the older that you are. And also, if you're older, you might have some medical conditions that might impact your ability to work or go to school. So how do you pass the age test? First, if you're between the ages of 18 and 61, great, but you have to show that you're actually working, that you're authorized to work, that you're actually working, or you're in school trying to get an education or learn a skill that will eventually lead to some form of gainful employment. So next, they're going to judge you based on your health. So already you have to submit your medical records with any green card petition. So if you're outside of the United States, you do your medical exam before your interview at the embassy. If you're in the United States when you're applying, you go to an immigration doctor. They fill out that form for you. They give you one for your records, one in a sealed envelope. The sealed envelope goes to immigration, and they're reviewing it to make sure that you don't have any medical illnesses that would lead you to be inadmissible. In addition to that, they're also going to see if you have any medical conditions that could impair your ability to go to school or go to work. They also want to see that you have access to health insurance. So if you're applying for a green card or a visa from outside of the United States, there are some companies that sell temporary insurance policies, some for as low as like $150 to $200 a month. It's possible to purchase a temporary insurance policy for like 3 to 6 months. So definitely look into getting that so that before you go on your interview, you can show that when I get in the United States, I will have this insurance coverage, and here's a proof of that. Or if you're applying through a family member that is able to add you onto their existing policy, maybe you're applying for a green card through your spouse in the United States who works full-time and gets health insurance through her employer. Once you're in the United States and you get a social security number, that spouse might be able to apply, or rather would be able to add you on to their policy. So if you're able to show that proof, then that helps as well. If you're already in the United States and you have a medical condition that maybe impacts your ability to work, or at least immigration thinks that it impacts your ability to work, you want to show that it doesn't. So if your employer knows that you have this condition and you're okay asking them to write a letter on your behalf and they agree, they can write a letter that says, hey, we know that, Mary has this condition, but it doesn't impact her ability to work. She shows up every day with a smile on her face. It doesn't impact her job at all. Similarly, if you're in school and your professors know that you have a particular medical illness, but it doesn't impact your ability to go to school, they can write a letter on your behalf that says the same thing. We know she has this medical condition, but she shows up for class every day. She's on time. She's participating. Her grades are good to go. So how do you pass the medical test? Basically, you need to prove that you're healthy and you have health insurance. Health insurance could be private health insurance through an employer, or it could be, public health insurance, such as through the Affordable Care Act. What will be deemed a negative, though, is if you have Obamacare with cash subsidies, that would be deemed a negative. But simply having public health insurance in and of itself, state-funded health insurance by itself, is not a problem. So you pass the medical part of the public charge test by just showing that you're healthy, you have health insurance, or if you have a medical condition that immigration thinks would impact your ability to go to school or work, that you show that it does not. Next, they're going to be looking at your family size and your household income. So they want to basically know that if you come in with a green card or a visa or whatever, that you're not going to be a burden on your family such that you now end up on like food stamps, for example. So let's say we have a little girl who's trying to apply for a green card through her mom. And the little girl lives with her mom, she lives with her grandma, and she lives with her older 24-year-old brother. So on her application, she would need to include herself, her grandma, and her mom. She wouldn't need to include her brother because he's over the age of 23. And the form actually tells you who counts as a household member. So definitely make sure that you're reviewing that because you don't have to count everyone. And so as far as this little girl's application is concerned, she has 3 people in her household. So she has to show that her household income is at least meeting the federal poverty guidelines for a household of 3 people. So that's how she would pass that test, by showing that her family's income is enough to support a family of 3 based on the federal poverty guidelines. Next, they're going to look at your education and your skills. So they want to see that you're educated, that when you come to the United States, you have enough of an education or skills that would enable you to get a job pretty quickly, or at least, start a company on your own and be self-sufficient so that you don't have to end up on public benefits. So if you've gone to college or grad school, or, like if you have any, like if you have a bachelor's, a master's, doctorate degree, that helps. If you speak English, if English is not your first language and you've taken classes to learn English, that helps as well. Showing that you're making an effort to learn English helps as well. So all of that proof, if you have it, that will help you pass that portion of the test. Next, they're going to look at your affidavit of support. So historically, aka before Monday, the affidavit of support had a little bit more weight to it than it will have going forward. It used to be that with the affidavit of support, the government wants to make sure that the person sponsoring you for a green card has enough money to take care of you so that you're not ending up on public benefits. And even more so, when you file an affidavit of support for someone, that is a contract between you and the government where you're promising the government that you will support this person financially so that they don't end up on public benefits. And if that person happens to end up on public benefits, the government can come after you to repay all the money that they gave to that person because you promised that that wouldn't have happened. So in order to pass the affidavit of support test, your sponsor has to make sure that they make enough money to support themselves and the whole household. So for example, going back to the little girl who's getting a green card through her mom, it's her grandma, and her mom. Let's say she has an aunt that wants to petition for her, and her aunt is not married and has no kids, and she wants to petition on the affidavit of support for her. So the aunt has to make sure that her income is enough to support a family of 4. And we get 4 from the little girl, the mom, the grandma, and the aunt. So as long as that happens, then you would pass the affidavit of support test. And finally, they also want to know if you've ever received any public benefits in the past. So they want to see that, if you've received any public benefits, and it doesn't have to be necessarily public benefits that you yourself have received. It can also be public benefits that someone else in your family received that you were listed as a beneficiary of. They also want to know if you've ever received any fee waivers in the past. So for example, let's say you applied for TPS or you applied to renew your TPS and you didn't have enough money to pay for the TPS application as well as the work card application. So you applied for a fee waiver and got it. They want to know how many times you applied and how many times you got the fee waiver. So in order to pass this test, you could pass this test by showing that you've never received public benefits. You can show that you make too much money your household makes too much money for you to even qualify for public benefits. And it could also be a situation where maybe in the past you applied for a public benefit, but then you changed your mind and you withdrew your application. That can help as well. So now that I've gone through the test and how you pass, I want to show you guys a couple of examples so that you can understand how immigration is going to assess your application when they get it. So I'm going to go through an example of a person whose application for a green card will be approved, and I want to go through an example of someone whose application will be denied. So first, let's go back to that little girl. The little girl is 14 years old. She's applying for a green card through her mom, let's say, and she lives with her mom and dad and her little brother. She's in high school. She speaks English, but she's not working. Her medical form shows that she doesn't have any illnesses or anything, so there's nothing standing in her way of continuing high school and getting an education. She has private health insurance through her parents who are both full-time working, gainfully employed. And her family makes, let's say her family makes $80,000, which is more than enough according to the federal poverty guidelines for a family of 4, which again is the little girl, her mom, her dad, and her little brother. In addition to that, she has an aunt who is not married, has no children, who wants to petition for the little girl's affidavit of support. And her income, let's say, is $110,000, which is more than enough, according to the federal poverty guidelines, to support a family of 5. And here we get 5 from the little girl, her mom, her dad, the little brother, and the aunt. So when immigration gets the little girl's green card application, they're going to say, okay, so she has one negative against her, the fact that she's applying for a green card. They think that, it's more likely that she will qualify for public benefits by applying for a green card. So they kind of attribute that as a negative factor. Next, they're going to look at her and say she's 14. Again, if you're under 18, it's a negative factor because you don't really have the skills to really make it in society yet. And then additionally, she doesn't have a job. Again, she's a 14-year-old girl. She's probably a freshman in high school. So she has these negatives. But they're going to look and see that she speaks English. They're going to look and see that she's in school. So if she continues high school and graduates and goes off to college, she'll be able to eventually get a job, she'll get her degree, get a job, hopefully doesn't become a public charge. Additionally, she has no medical issues that prevent her from continuing on with her education. Her parents' household income is $80,000, which is more than enough under the federal poverty guidelines. She has private health insurance, and based on her family's household income, she probably wouldn't even be able to qualify for public benefits because their income is so high. And she has an aunt who is filing the affidavit of support for her, and her income is $110,000, more than enough to support a family of 5. Immigration is going to give this little girl her green card. Next, I want to talk about a case where this person won't get a green card. So now we're talking about grandma. Grandma is living with her son and her daughter-in-law and her 3 grandchildren. Grandma is 68 years old. Her medical report shows that she has heart disease. And her application shows that she doesn't have any health insurance, and it doesn't look like she's even applying or trying to get health insurance. Also, grandma has never worked in her life. She got married young, and her husband supported her, and then he passed away, didn't really leave her anything. So grandma doesn't have any assets, no house, no money. And because she never worked, there's no evidence that grandma would have a pension or a retirement account or any income whatsoever. However, her son has enough money to support a family of 6. So here it's grandma, the son, the wife, and the 3 children. So that's a household of 6. And he has enough money to support the family under the affidavit of support. So in this case, grandma's got a lot of negatives working against her. Also, let's just assume that grandma doesn't have any formal education. She never really worked. She didn't go to college or even high school. And let's assume that grandma doesn't really speak English. So grandma is 68 years old. Her medical record shows that she has heart disease, which would likely impact her ability to work if she were able to get a job. We don't think that grandma's going to be able to get a job because she's 68 years old. She doesn't have any formal education. She doesn't speak English. Grandma doesn't have health insurance, nor does it look like she's even trying to apply for health insurance. So if something were to happen with grandma and she had to go to the hospital, grandma would likely, end up going to the hospital with no insurance. And yeah, her son makes enough money to support the whole family. However, grandma is likely to become a public charge because grandma doesn't really have, any money, no ability to get a job. So grandma's application for a green card is going to get denied. So what will happen next? The government, in their discretion, could offer grandma a bond so that, she could still come into the United States even though she's deemed a public charge. But the minimum bond is $8,100. And similarly, there are certain people who, when they're trying to apply for a visa, They might be, they might try to come in with a visa and their application might be denied because immigration thinks that they're going to be a public charge. The government could, offer these people the opportunity to apply for a waiver, but not everybody can apply for a waiver. And just because you apply for a waiver doesn't mean that you'll get it. So what I hope that you guys get from this video is that the public charge rule is a whole new beast that we have to deal with. It's making things even more complicated, more difficult, but it's still possible to get a green card, even though we have this new challenge facing us. And it just starts with being smart about your immigration case. And that requires working with an immigration attorney. It doesn't have to be me. Unfortunately, I can't help all of the immigrants in the world as much as I would like to, unless I'm able to clone myself. But I just want you guys to have the right information so that you can make informed decisions about your case. This government is trying to make it harder and more expensive for immigrants to get green cards. The filing fees are going up, attorneys' fees are going up because we have so much more work that we have to do for these applications now. And so I really hope that you guys can work with attorneys. Please don't let cost be a deterrent. Most immigration attorneys I know, myself included, we offer payment plans. We work with our clients so that they can pay their fees and get the right representation that they need. I've seen way too often people are making mistakes on their application, simple mistakes that maybe an immigration attorney wouldn't miss, and now they're ending up in removal proceedings or deportation proceedings simply because they don't have an attorney. Or they tried to do their application themselves, they received a request for evidence, didn't know how to respond, so they didn't, or they didn't do it correctly, their application gets denied, and now they're in removal proceedings without an attorney. I really strongly urge you guys to find an immigration attorney that you like and trust and work with them on your case, because the delays are going to be increased. I really believe that the applications are going to be a little bit more delayed. I think that there are going to be more denials and it's just going to be a mess. So you're just better off if you work with an immigration attorney. And so I hope you guys found this video helpful. If you have any questions about your case, I'm offering free consultations next week. There aren't that many, so book them while they're there. Once they're gone, they're gone. I will drop the link to that once I post this video. And if you have any other questions about public charge, drop them in the comments. If you have any questions about your immigration case, or if there's something that you would like me to cover in a video, you can feel free to contact my office at 508-942-7497, or you can send me a message at brazenlegal.com/contact. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.